Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Scientists say that the universe is made up of protons, neutrons, and electrons. But today, with Adam Schiff and the Democrats, they forgot to mention morons. Here's Kate Smith, and God Bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And a good morning to you and yours. I'm Zeb Bell on this Tuesday, October 15th already, and we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with a great big fall tire sale going on right now. And don't forget to our advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue. Excuse me. Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. I love that cough. And don't forget our friends at Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. And right now, let's go to the phone line. And here's our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Well, good morning, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Attaboy, Wheels. And did you turn that feed line up just a little bit?
I did. Hopefully it'll work out.
All right, I would appreciate it. Thank you. Right now, let's go to the weather. And the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Heyburn. Hello, Roger and the crew over there. They've got the best of tools and equipment for rent and finish any project that you've started. I mean, they've got the best. Oh, and they've got all your heaters, too. Electric, propane, you name it, they've got it over there. And all the air compressors to blow out those sprinkler lines. It's that time of the year. Get things wrapped up and buttoned up and use the equipment right there for rent at K&R Rental. 256 South, 600 West of Heyburn on the Burley Paul Highway. Number to call 678-3122. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Another beautiful day here in the valley as we make our way through this work week. And for today, sunny skies, we are expecting a high of 70. Winds light and variable, becoming out of the east at about 5 miles an hour. Tonight, mostly clear skies with a low of 38. Tomorrow, another nice one. Sunny skies, high of 74. Clouds rolling in for tomorrow night with a low of 44. By Thursday, mostly cloudy skies, expecting a high of 58. Winds are going to be picking up. Gusts as high as 25 miles an hour for Thursday. Thursday night, partly cloudy skies with a low of 34. By Friday, mostly sunny, 53. Saturday, showers likely, mostly in the afternoon, partly sunny skies and a high of 50. That's a look at your weather forecast for 7.
Oh, thank you much, Gina. And the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Heyburn. The number to call Roger and the crew. And ask questions before you stop over there. They've got the answers right there on the Burley Paul Highway. 678-3122, K&R Rental. Want to remind you, too, that Thursday this week is always sale day at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley, with Merv May, Cade Rogge, Lance Udy. The sale that works for you at 1100 Occidental Avenue. The number to call for cattle consignments and sale information, 678-9411. Don't forget that Thursday sale day at 11 o'clock at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard. Absolutely. Everybody give them a call. Excellent cattle sales and auction right there with Merv May, Cade Rogge, and Lance Udy. Caller, I'll be right there. I want to remind everybody, too, about our friends down at Daryl's Cleaners. Holy moly, I'm telling you, you're kind of pressed for time, and you got a great big pile of clothes in the corner over there. I see them. Well, take them in there, and if you don't have time to do your washing, they will. They will wash, dry, fold, and iron all of your clothes, just like Mama used to do. So take them in there today to Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Easy to find, super nice people to work with at Daryl's Cleaners. You stop in and see them today, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I'm disheartened by the way our President of the United States is being treated. It is a total disgrace. And doggone it, what are we going to do if Donald Trump throws up his hands and says, I'm out of here? What is going to happen to this country?
Well, I think you can understand and appreciate and already have the answer. I mean, we're on the road to you-know-where if the Democrats take over. I mean, much higher taxing against the middle class and a destruction of values. They don't believe in God. They don't believe in religion. And there's just absolutely the banning of this, the banning of that, going after the Second Amendment, going after the First Amendment. How fast and how much farther do you want me to go?
The discouraging thing about it is they don't wait until they've got one false deal settled to get into another one.
Yeah.
It's like
yeah.
Our conflict right now that's starting over there in Syria. It just. But the problem is, even after he is reelected, this stuff will not stop.
No, I agree with you.
Do with these ignorant people?
Well, Keith, everybody in this free society, in this republic, has a right to their own opinion. But right now, that opinion, the left liberal opinion, is destroying the key values of our society, the moral values of our society, and the constitutional values of our society. And, really, you said, what can we do? Well, we're going to have to fight back. And, I mean, it's going to have to take an overwhelming support next year, 2020, at the ballot boxes. We've got to put the left down. And I mean that with all sincerity. I don't want them to win one stupid little part of the election, whether it's the dog catcher for a city or whether it's taking a new seat on a city council someplace. I don't want them to have anything.
I don't either. And they just kind of make it up as they go along. This Adam Schiff, we can't kick him out. Why?
Well, I'm just going to say this. The Democrats, I think the Democrats are absolutely, being led by Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi and others, are doing the wrong thing that maybe the American public can see through in conducting what they call impeachment inquiry hearings behind closed doors in a secret, kind of a clandestine type atmosphere. It's going to come back to bite them. I hope it does. I have no use for we, the people of the United States, not being informed. This is supposed to be an open, free society where we know we're the taxpayers, we pay the bills, and yet they're not telling us what's going on. Boy, oh boy, Keith, something's wrong with that picture.
The other thing is that if you run across one of these people who are a Democrat and they're listening to all this crap on CNN and everything, they'll start a conversation with you, and they would actually want to get into a fist fight with you. They're that far down the drain.
Yeah, I agree with you. I really do. If they don't get their way, they go get you. And that's really true. Keith, thank you for your call. As always, break the ice. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, let's not forget our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Good morning. They get there early in the morning at 7:30 to 5, Monday through Friday, and they do literally have all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs, as they have for almost 7 decades. Woo, they are good at what what they do, serving you, providing warm winters and cool summers. Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The number to call, 678-0459. They are the best at what they do, Ramsey Heating and Electric. I know somebody else that's the best at what they do, too, and that's at America's Diner. That's Denny's Restaurant at 611 North Overland in Burley. And then the other location, 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Oh, the best of menu choices right there at Denny's Restaurant. I mean breakfast, lunch, and dinner, anytime, all the time, all the desserts. But you know what? Nice, friendly, caring people serving you. And, of course, we're going to have our next lunch bunch over there on the 24th. Write that on your calendar. The home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch, Denny's Restaurant. Yep, America's Diner. Absolutely delicious. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir. The Democrats are acting like rats on a sinking ship. They are running, trying to do anything and everything to draw attention away from what's coming down the pipe.
I have no argument. The only thing I would correct you in saying is they're not necessarily rats just on a sinking ship.
Well, they know Barr and Durham is going to be coming out with their investigation on how this started with the Russia investigation into Trump.
Yeah.
And they know the AG, or the IG, the gentleman that's looking into the
Durham.
FISA?
Yes, Durham.
FISA applications and
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah.
They know that's coming out.
Yep.
So they're trying to throw a whole lot of balls in the air, shiny objects, to get people looking at that, so when this comes out, they won't pay much attention to it.
You know, I sat and listened to the news this morning from 3:45 this morning until just before I went on the air. And when you start looking and listening to all that the Democratic Party is trying to do to change, transition, and destroy as far as American values are concerned, I wonder where the voting populace is even coming up with percentage numbers to show that they support these Democrats. What is the matter with America where we are thinking about putting these people in power? It's beyond me. Honestly, Doug, I'm not trying to exaggerate. It's beyond me.
Well, this election coming up is going to be an election for America to bring it back to a free nation under a constitution where the people have rights, or turn it in to a socialist Venezuela.
I agree. I totally agree. I got into an argument with a guy back east yesterday, as a matter of fact, on my cell phone after the program, and we are honestly on the edge. The boot heels of our Tony Lama boots are on the edge, and all it's going to take is a slight push or a good gust of wind, and America's going to topple into the abyss of falling into the stupidity and the evil of socialism and what the Democrats are trying to do.
Exactly. And the Republicans back there, I have a problem with them because they are not standing up.
Oh, for heaven's sakes. You know, okay, criticize me if you will out there in Radio Land, but where's Mike Crapo? Where's Jim Risch? Where is, oh my, Mike Simpson speaking out and really letting their voices be heard? Oh, there's a press release every now and then. However, I haven't heard or seen one from Mike Simpson that's even noteworthy. These guys aren't doing anything to speak up and make aware the people in Idaho as to really what's going on.
Exactly. And I call back there once a week. I think they know my first name when I call in. Oh, okay. Hi, Doug. How are you?
Yeah.
But I let them know. I said, you work for us. If you want your job next year, by George, start standing up for Idahoans, or I'm going to start a campaign. Anything but Simpson. Anybody but Simpson.
Well,
but that being said, we need to call them and demand that we're paying you, you do as we ask.
Let me just tell you something that really bothers me, and there should be every single parent listening that has a daughter that is in either elementary or junior high or high school or going to college and participates in sports, they should be extremely concerned about this. The Democratic Party, and if you think I'm making this up or exaggerating, is absolutely all in. And when I say all in, all of the top Democrats have said that the Equality Act, which supports transgender men, sickos, to go ahead and compete in girls' sports, that's one of their main campaign issues for 2020. And so far, every single Democratic frontrunner has pledged support to this Equality Act that would let transgender men compete on girls' teams. Doug, this just amplifies how dumb and how far in the gutter we're going.
Yes, and it shouldn't be gender, it should be sex. If you're of a female sex, you compete in this sport. If you're of a male sex, you compete in this sport. No matter what you think you are or what you want to be.
There are only two genders, and I'm never, ever going to kowtow to the so-called PC, politically correct left. I mean, just absolutely insane. I'll give you some other insanities to think about real quick. Here's some real quick headlines for you to mull over today. Did you know many cities across the United States are now going to be banning fast food drive-ins because they say it causes too much exhaust emission? Did you know that girls' sports and Title IX are in jeopardy because of the transgender men joining the teams? Did you know that LeBron James has made a total fool of himself and shows he loves money more than the U.S. patriotism because he condemned the man that stood up for Hong Kong? Did you know that the Dems are doing everything behind closed doors? And did you know that Christopher Columbus statues across the United States yesterday were doused in red paint and vandalized because they didn't like Christopher Columbus Day, they want Indigenous Peoples Days. If they don't get their way, they tear things apart.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a lot of trying to tear this country down to a third world nation.
Absolutely.
Trying to do.
And
a couple quick things before I go. One is Matt Gaetz getting kicked out of the impeachment hearing.
Yeah.
I mean, so if the Democrats actually had anything substantial at all, they would put it out there in the public for everybody to see. But they have nothing.
You know, I think, how do I say this, or I'm going to be accused of inciting violence or whatever? Let's just be blunt. Okay, Doug, you're a good friend of mine. Audience, bear with me on this. There comes a time, as there did at the beginning of the Revolutionary War, at the beginning of the Civil War, at the beginning of every conflict, where you have to sit back and say, wait a minute. We have tried to negotiate. We have tried to do this in an adult fashion of sitting down, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and it's not working. Maybe, Doug, maybe to get our country back, we may have to look and resort to something that's really going to get the left's attention. You can fill in the blanks any way you want to.
Like maybe a bloody nose?
That might be a thought. I got to run. I got another call waiting. Thanks. All right.
The Republican back there, Mr. Lindsey Graham, who I like what he did in the Kavanaugh hearing. It took guts, and he did good. But remember when Obama was president, it was ISIL?
Yeah.
Now that President Trump is in, it's ISIS. So that being said, Lindsey Graham, if he has a pair, needs to start calling every witness Adam Schiff calls behind closed doors in front of his committee in a public hearing.
Absolutely. Doug, I'm way late. I got a caller calling in, and I've got a ton of commercials. Thank you very much.
All right. Hey,
appreciate it.
Do what we can for our senior centers.
All right. Caller number 2, I'll be right there. Please bear with me. I want to mention quickly about Anthony and Save-On Shells. A lot of people, I had a call yesterday saying, where is this place? It's on Overland and Burley. Good heavens, you've driven by it a million times. 1827 Overland and Burley. And if you're looking for a camper shell for your pickup, let me tell you, he has got all the camper shells. He's got every certain style and color. I'll tell you, this man has them all. And talk about quality and service and low prices. That's Anthony at Save on Shells. Now's a great time to protect what's in the back of that pick-em-up truck with a nice camper shell. So please get a hold of them today. Anthony at Save on Shells, 312-1525. I'll say that number again, 312-1525. Save on Shells in Burley-on-Overland. You stop in and see him today. Also, our dear friend, Dr. Bill and the crew over at Ark Animal Hospital. Simply put, they take care of your animal's health. Whether it's kitty cats, a dog, or a whole herd of dairy cattle, they want them healthy. And don't forget all the fall vaccinations. Don't forget that if anything creeps up and you've got a sick animal or a hurt, injured animal, they can help and they will help. At Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street, near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn, the number 678-1177, where they have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Caller, I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
So this message is not so much for you as it is for the listeners. How many of you out there in Radio Land can name the U.S. Congress representative from Idaho, District 1? I'll bet there isn't 10% of you who can name him, because he doesn't say anything. We don't know who he is or what he's doing. His name is Russ Fulcher.
That's right.
But how many of you people know who he is?
Well, what's your point, though? I mean, what's the point, Keith?
Well, the point is, we're not getting representation.
Well, wait a minute.
He's not representing Idaho.
Well, here's the thing, okay? I, every year, have my dear friends that put on the Lincoln Day banquets. I've always advocated that people get a ticket, go, and really pin down our legislators as to what's going on or why not. And it surprises me. There's a lot of people that will gripe and complain on this program, but when it comes down, right down to the brass tacks of, well, did you go to the Lincoln Day banquet? Did you address this issue with Simpson or Crapo or whomever? Well, no, I had something else to do. I was cleaning up my sock drawer, and I didn't have time. Give me a break. You know, if you're going to gripe about something, do something to change it.
Well, you're absolutely right, and I hope this is a wake-up call, because we are, I don't know whether we're being represented or not through our representatives.
Well, it's not a question of being represented. It's not a question so much of being represented or not. It's a question of us, we the people, saying, hey, we want this done, or else you're going to find yourself applying for a job at Walmart or whatever. I am fed up with Mike Simpson. I know Mike has done a lot for the state of Idaho. I'll give that as a gimme. But he's also been very selective about who he talks to and how he handles it. He hasn't called this program and asked for an interview on any of the topics, whether they refer to Idaho or the nation or the world. Mike Simpson has cowardly turned his back and ran away.
Well, that's true. But Idaho is actually two states, south and north. It just seems like we're not together like we should be.
Well, that's true, though, Keith, in a lot of areas across the United States. You could say the same for California. California gets lumped into being considered, oh, those liberals, all of them are bad in California, and that's not the case. Whether it's Bakersfield, California, whether it's Red Bluff, California, whether it's Clovis, California, whether it's any other area, there are a lot of good, sane conservatives down there that are trying to fight this liberal sleaze, and unfortunately, they get lumped into it.
Well, you know, it's like Burley and Rupert. You know, they've always been kind of at odds, but when the chips are down, they're together.
I hope so. And Keith,
that's what America's all about.
I agree. You got to run, got to pay some bills. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Want to remind everybody about Dino Septic Service. I keep telling you every day that these folks absolutely delight in doing the jobs that you and I don't want to do. I'll tell you what. And they offer fast, fair, friendly service. They've worked for us, and I'm telling you what, they were here, got the job done, and they are extremely efficient. Absolutely. Number to call, 436-6526 or 678-1638, and that's the best. Dino's Septic Service, septic tank pumping, along with septic inspections, sewer and sink drain lines clean, backhoe services, oh, so much. Serving you, Dino's Septic Service. You be sure and get a hold of them today. Also, a big shout out to Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, and they've teamed up to offer up to $1,600 in rebates on a new home comfort system, featuring possibly the iComfort Wi-Fi thermostat from Lennox, featuring remote control access so you can adjust your home's temperature from anywhere, any place. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459 or visit them online at ramseysonline.com. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. How many of you this morning turned on the news and watched perhaps some very carefully chosen excerpts of Hunter Biden speaking out for the first time about his involvement with the Ukrainian energy company, and also a little bit about the Chinese company that he was on the board of directors with? I had never heard Hunter Biden speak on camera before. I'd never heard his voice. And after listening to this wussy little, very protecting son of Joe Biden, I thought, holy cow, I'm supposed to believe that this guy, a confirmed drug addict and alcoholic, and never had any kind of a really staunch job that he could hold down, bounced out of the Navy, I'm supposed to believe this guy? That he was picking up from Ukraine alone over $600,000 a year, and his dad didn't know about it, nor had they discussed it? And I'm supposed to believe that he rides on Air Force Two with then his Vice President Daddy Joe to China, and there's a very lucrative deal for Hunter to come home with a bunch of money in his hip pocket. And Daddy Joe and son Hunter didn't and have never discussed Hunter's business. Now, I don't think I fell off the melon truck yesterday. And if you can believe this, you're a very gullible person. Now, has there been any illegality? We don't know that. Just using the Biden name and making it applicable to get in through doors that might not have been open for anybody else, and especially while Daddy was vice president, don't you think that maybe it stinks just a little bit? And then for him to come out and say that he would no longer serve on any boards when his dad is elected president. Well, that's the power of positive thinking, I guess. When Dad's elected president, I will no longer serve on any boards. You know, I just don't understand how and why we're so gullible today with Adam Schiff and the Democrats behind closed doors and being so secretive, and what they're trying to do to impeach the president and turn our country absolutely upside down. Is there some kind of a secret fraternity behind those closed doors where they have rings and they touch rings and little sparks fly and they all sit down and go, impeach President Trump, It's kind of spooky what's going on. And talk about transparency. Talk about the first 3 words on the front of any little pamphlet that discusses our Constitution, we the people. We don't know a doggone thing. It's being withheld from us. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Barry Equipment and Rental, Sales, Service, and Parts. And when you've got jobs to do, you want the equipment that's going to get the job done. Whether you're out there lifting and digging and pushing and carrying or grading or leveling or whatever it is, you don't want to mess around. You want to have the equipment that's going to get it done. The Doosan wheel loaders and all the excavators and all the Bobcats, they got every shape and size, and they've got excellent finance programs to buy, great lease programs. What are you waiting for? Get a hold of them today. Barry Equipment and Rental, Sales, Service, and Parts, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Napa location for Barry Equipment and Rental. Really, really nice people. Let's see what else. Come on, callers. Get on the phone. Give me a jingle right now. Our religious freedom in this country is under attack. And I mean that. I don't want anybody to call me and say, oh, well, you're making this up. There's no attack on Christianity. Well, you would be wrong. And you would be bogus and a liar. There is an extreme attack by secularists in this country. For those of us that believe in the Bible and God's Word, and those of us that believe in Christianity, there is an extreme secular attack for us to go along with their secular values, or the left will get you. Now, that's not just my opinion. As a matter of fact, I was absolutely, pleasantly shocked to hear Attorney General Bill Barr stand up and say the same thing. That secularism in this country is now trying to run, in very slang language, Christianity out of Dodge City. And he said we can't let that happen. And the Bible and what the Bible says in many, many, many occurrences is being treated as hate speech. It's true. It's absolutely true. And to go along with what I said a minute ago, you either go along with the left and you kind of say, oh, okay, well, I'll follow you down here. Okay, well, I'm being pushed over here. Okay, well, I won't say this anymore. Okay, I won't even recite anything about Romans 1:27 or talk about Corinthians or Ecclesiastes or anything else. Okay, I'll stop that. Then they've won. They've won. And again, for so many times on this program, oh man, did I take heat over this. I criticized the pastors and the ministers for not really getting up at the pulpit and slamming their fist down and saying, this is what's happening. I said it before, I will say it again. The bulk of ministers and pastors are cowards and are not speaking up and doing what needs to be done, and not speaking up and saying what needs to be said about preserving values and Christianity in this country. If they're offended by that, your problem, not mine. I've invited them on my program. I've invited them to call. I've invited them to do anything they want to express their feelings about anything on this program. One minister has taken that challenge and has been on this program. One. To the ministers, preachers, shame on you for not standing up. And I'm really worried about what's happening with secularism in this country. Treating Christians and religion as if it were discriminatory and trying to push it away and make it absolutely not respected. It's happening, folks. It's happening. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Once again, I want to remind you about the iComfort Wi-Fi thermostat from Lennox, featuring remote control access. So all you have to do is just adjust your home's temperature from anywhere. Absolutely. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox are offering up to $1,600 in rebates on a new home comfort system. So call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459 or visit them online at ramseysonline.com. One thing needs to be said right here while the ministers out in the audience and the pastors and everybody are sitting there fuming and screaming at me under their breath, is that I've had many, many nationally known church leaders and theology professors on this program. Dr. Alvin Schmidt, one of the most recognized names, and he's written numerous books, agreed with me on this program that ministers, pastors, and church leaders are not doing at all enough to stand up and be counted for the beliefs that are of value in our society. They're not doing it. They're too afraid. Maybe they're afraid to go up against their board of directors in the church. Oh, because that might affect the almighty dollar in the collection plate. Can't have that. Better leave that sermon alone. Are they serving man or are they serving God? Big question. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I mentioned this earlier, and it just really is something else that cities in California and cities across the country now that are held with Democratic leadership, like Minneapolis, Long Beach, California, other cities in St. Louis, Missouri, New York, New Jersey, etc., they're now going to be stopping drive-ins from coming into their towns. First of all, they don't like fast food. They are the omnipotent overseers of what we eat. And you can't have that cheeseburger. You can't have those chicken McNuggets. You can't have those French fries. Why? Because we said you can't. And we don't want you to have a drive-in. We don't want you to drive in, get your food, and drive away. No. We're against that. And on current and existing drive-ins, we're going to pass an ordinance that says all people, whether they are walking or on bicycles, can use the drive-in. Oh, that's going to be safe. These people are absolutely mindless twits. But they are trying to control every aspect of our life. Every aspect of our life. I am shocked that the phone hasn't been ringing off the hook. I mean, maybe a lot of people are going, oh, boy, I don't want to call him on that deal about the ministers and the pastors because, boy, I don't want my voice to be heard. That's shameful. You should be speaking out and letting your opinion be heard while you still can. Right now it's time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by our friends at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, and they've got a brand new number, and that is 208-417-8799. I'll say it again, 417-8799. Please get a hold of them today. And hearing loss affects each person differently. And they've got all the diagnostic skills, personalized treatment plans, all the access to hearing technology right there to serve you and your hearing health. They're right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Another beautiful day here in the Valley as we make our way through this work week. And for today, sunny skies, we are expecting a high of 70. Winds light and variable, becoming out of the east at about 5 miles an hour. Tonight, mostly clear skies with a low of 38. Tomorrow, another nice one. Sunny skies, high of 74. Clouds rolling in for tomorrow night with a low of 44. By Thursday, mostly cloudy skies, expecting a high of 58. Winds are going to be picking up. Gusts as high as 25 miles an hour for Thursday. Thursday night, partly cloudy skies with a low of 34. By Friday, mostly sunny, 53. Saturday, showers likely, mostly in the afternoon, partly sunny skies and a high of 50. That's a look at your weather forecast for 7-3.
Thank you, Gina. And the weather brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And again, that number to call, make an appointment, let them help you with any hearing loss. 417-8799 with the 208 prefix. 417-8799. Calls are welcome and appreciated. And, I'm not going to be dishonest with you on this program, and I'm not going to skirt the issues, kind of circle the wagons and run around the outside. I'm going to be very blunt. I think in today's society, with all the big push by the LGBTQ, RST, Respond RFD, whatever the case might be, and how they're trying to take over our society and demand and make demands, and especially the absolutely ridiculous transgender men issue competing on girls' teams. There is so much that needs to be talked about what is right and what is wrong. And it all goes back to the pulpit and churches. Churches are supposed to be the community leader. They're supposed to be getting people to go out and stand for what's right and wrong and black and white issues. They're not doing that. They're not doing that. I guess they want just a warm, fuzzy attitude. Oh, everybody feels good. Yeah, scratch my back. I'll scratch yours. Today, that's not working. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-927-4587. Give me a call. And I just really thought that, more of you would speak up on these issues. But tonight, we're going to be watching 12 Democrats on stage behind podiums at the next Democratic debate. I really don't understand why they're throwing 12 up on that stage. Think about it. What is this now, debate number 4? And they've still got 12 they're going to be standing up there. Now, you know as well as I do that out of the 12, there is maybe 3, possibly 4 that are going to get the bulk of the interest, that are going to get the bulk of the questions. And here stands 8 others. I don't care who you're talking about. They're up there just basically as window dressing for the cameras. It's ridiculous. Caller, good morning. Appreciate your call. Go ahead.
Morning, Zeb. As far as the candidates go, I really think there may be one that might hold up against Trump or give him at least a run. But then again, we've seen with Hillary Clinton, when she ran, she tried everything she could to steal the election and lie and cheat and manipulate votes every which way. So that's kind of an iffy situation. What you're talking about earlier about the clergy in our area talking and standing up for what's right, I agree that more needs to be said and done. However, the clergy can say whatever they want at Sunday during Sunday school or throughout the week, but if the parents aren't at home or not teaching their kids and aren't taking the time out of their busy day for their children to teach their children, then it's for nothing.
It's a team effort, Riley.
It is. Very big team effort.
It's a team effort.
If one part of the team doesn't hold up, then the other part of the team can't take it all on themselves.
That's exactly right, but let me tell you something, and I think you'll agree. The days when I was a young man, and that was a long time ago, they still circled the wagons at night, the days of mom and dad with the kids going to church on Sunday and listening to what the Word of God was being preached from the pulpit and how they could help make their community better and stronger through Jesus Christ and the words of the Bible. And then going home and having a Sunday dinner together, talking together, playing together, recreating together. Those days are gone, and we better bring them back before it's too late.
Well, of course, I agree with you. Family's very important. That's what this whole thing hinges on: being a family, being together with a family, not having your nose in a phone or up against the computer screen or watching TV. It's being a family, talking and communicating, sharing ideas, sharing thoughts, and growing. Because if we don't raise our younger generations, and I'm guilty as everybody else with this, so don't think I'm preaching to the choir here, but if we don't do something about it, then we're going to lose it, because our younger generation doesn't grow up knowing.
My point is, I think my point is to you this morning, and you and I are on the same page on this, but my point is that if the Bible, the Word of God, is going to be used by the secularists as hate speech and discriminated against, we've lost it, Riley. And it's about high time that the churches stood up and said, no, it's not going to happen, but they're not doing that.
I think a lot of them are too worried about the repercussions that could come back to them.
I agree.
That's not the way the
Lord
works. You got to fight for what's right.
And it's not just me saying that, by the way. It's not just me saying that. I've talked to people all across this United States that are church leaders, and they're in the higher echelon, if you will, of various churches, and they agree with me that things have got to be done to recreate the feeling and the emotions about doing the best you can be morally, and it's got to come from the pulpit, and I don't see what that's happening. It's not.
Well, I hope it changes. I sure do. But anyway, I got to go, Zeb. I got some work.
All right, Riley. You're always welcome. Thank you. And again, any minister that wants to come on this program and talk about it, even debate me, I don't care, but we can do it in a friendly atmosphere right here in my studio. I'm welcoming them to give me a call. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. You know, when the Earl Warren Supreme Court took prayer and Bible reading out of public school, and now they're just preaching all this tolerance and the stuff that justice, social justice, and that's what's being preached from a lot of the pulpits as well. The Union Theological Seminary just turns out, well, the old saying is Christians don't become communists, but communists become ministers. And that's what's happened in this country to a large extent.
You just said something, Adrian, wait a minute. Adrian, wait a minute, please. Adrian, you said a point I want you to elaborate on, because you said something that is absolutely a point of your last sentence that you've got to touch on just a little bit. You said tolerance. Tolerance to me today, and this is what I want you to expand on just for a quick second. Tolerance to me today is for us to cave into evil. That's what they expect. That's what they call tolerance.
Oh, absolutely. And there's no compromise with these people. I mean, it's their way or the highway, and it's been that way forever. And my experience all through life has been that way with these liberals and socialists that I've had to deal with. I mean, it's their way or the highway. And like I say, they expect us to be compromised, and then we compromise once. Oh, you did it once, you do it again and again and again. I can remember a lesson for my daughter when she was in junior high. I said, these days somebody's going to offer you a cigarette at school or wherever, and I said, what are you going to say? No, 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 and make it very emphatic that no. And that very week, she was offered that. But we've got to teach our kids to say no and don't bend and say, oh, to get along, you know, just one cigarette's not going to hurt you.
Yeah. Totally agree with you, as always, Adrian. I've got to get my last word in here before I go to the news, but you are 100% right. Tolerance in this country is only aimed towards Christians and people of moral value, because the evil left doesn't believe in tolerance unless you cave into what their beliefs are. That's exactly right. Thank you.
We've got to occupy till it comes. We don't just give in. We've got to be, as Christians, stand up and stand tall and demand that those people preaching to us are preaching the Word of God, not some social justice.
Amen. Amen. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. God bless. Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Want to remind you of our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with a really big fall tire sale going on right now. They've been doing the right thing since way back in 1952. Absolutely. They've got all the tires, all the tread design, all the sizes, everything for your cars, pickups, SUVs, all your trailers, etc. I mean, really, look no further. They've got it all right there at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Of course, with the best in brake service. That's not brag, that's a fact. Front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, all of this and so much more at Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland and Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. We're going to get out of here for about 7 minutes. Old buddy Wheels is going to play a little tune, lead us up to CBS News, and we will be right back. Have yourself a great day. Oh boy, here we go on a really pretty, nice, beautiful Tuesday, October 15th, Zeb at the Ranch, hour number 2. And of course, we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with a great big fall tire sale going on right now. And some of our other great advertisers include Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Along with Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, Wheels has got this good word for Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Always at your disposal. How true it is. They love trash, and they'd love to have yours. That's right. They'll come by and get it every week, get on the route service, and it's gone. It's out of there. Absolutely. Call 734-6969. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Serving you, Western Waste Services, the best. Want to remind you, too, about our friends with Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, of course. They offer the iComfort Wi-Fi thermostat from Lennox, and that is featuring remote control access, so you can adjust your home's temperature from anywhere, anytime. I'm telling you, Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox offering up to $1,600 in rebates on a new home comfort system. So stay comfy. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459. One other good word, and that goes to our dear friends over at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. And I just can't say enough about them. They've helped me immensely. My knee, my hip, everything. They've done a tremendous job. And I urge you to call them and make an appointment at 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, located at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Nick Greenwell and all of these excellent physical therapists with all the exercises and the only hydrotherapy pool of its kind in this entire area. You call them today, 678-1191, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. It is Tuesday, and I get a chance to talk to a really good friend that knows all about energy and the good, the bad, and the ugly, and where we're headed as a country. And I say good morning to a gentleman representing the American Energy Alliance, Dan Kish. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Zeb.
Dan, I want to start things off this morning. We just had in Saturday's Times News, our local Magic Valley newspaper, A great big editorial front page story that went on to say that solar project starts soon. Idaho's largest solar farm will be near Rogerson, a massive 120 megawatt project, and it's going to be with over 300,000 black panels and covering over 1,000 acres. And I'm telling you right now, Dan, I think it stinks.
Well, they work when the sun's out. I guess my first question to whoever's proposing it is, where are they getting the solar panels?
That's a good question. Doesn't say.
Yeah, there's a reason for that. Since about 90% of them in the U.S. come from China, Korea, Malaysia, while they're building coal plants over there and nuclear plants, they're using the power that they derive from that to make solar panels to sell to places like the United States where they subsidize this stuff and force it down our throats whether we want it or not.
Yeah. Now, 300,000 panels. I mean, there's a solar farm up near Boise on your way into Boise on the west side of the highway, the interstate. And I don't know that much about the solar panels. I don't know that much about the danger. I've heard people say that it could jam up and jinx radar on planes. You're the expert. I mean, what are the negatives, or, I'll be fair, the positives of solar panels?
Well, the positives are they produce power when it's most valuable during the day, if the sun's out. And remember, I mean, we use more power during the day when people are running operations and work and the like. And so the power is more valuable at that time of day. They don't produce it all at night, obviously, and so anything they provide in excess has to be stored away in batteries that are so expensive now that it's really nothing but a waste of money. And it also means that it has to be backed up with something, typically, in the case of Idaho, probably hydro, but also coal and natural gas, other things that can do it. That's the positive. The negative is, frankly, it's not necessary. All of this stuff is sort of like boutique. It's like pet rocks, Zeb. Do people need to buy pet rocks? No, but, and nobody really cared if people were wasting their own money on pet rocks at the time when they were a fad. But this fad includes the government compelling utilities to buy the power from these things, which goes on the bills of everyone, because not only does it only provide power for about 35% of its installed capacity on average, but it also, the federal government pays 30% of the cost. Taxpayers are paying for, when you look at that 1,000 acres of solar panels from China, if that's where they're from, remember that the taxpayers actually pay 30% of that in the form of a tax credit here at the federal level. Who knows what the state adds on top of that? In California, it's considerable. And so you're paying through your taxes, or we're borrowing money from China to buy their solar panels and subsidize them, and then and we wonder why we're going broke.
You know, Dan, I'm sitting here and I don't have a tenth of the knowledge that you have about what's going on with energy projects, but help me on this. When you get these solar panels and the retention factor on the electricity, we're talking about expensive, very expensive backup batteries and the cost of those batteries, the longevity of those batteries, and we're talking about the same thing with the wind projects and everything, and then we're talking about the land purchases, and we're talking about the desecration of the land, the dangers to the wildlife and the birds and everything. Why? Why? I don't understand why we're absorbing this stupid cost.
Yeah. Well, from the business's perspectives, from the people who are selling you the product, if the government is dumb enough to force them to invest in these things, they stand to make a pretty penny. There's a profit in it. Not only do you get that tax credit, but also they've got to buy your product. I mean, think about that. If you're in a livestock business and the government says everybody has to eat a pound of beef a day, and we're going to subsidize it on top of that, that's a pretty good business to be in, don't you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, what's the matter right now with all the rules and regulatory means and methods on power, whether it's coal-fired generating plants or whatever the source? I mean, they have been scrutinized, and they've been just right down to the gnat's eyebrow of making sure that the emissions are minuscule. What's wrong with our power we have now?
Right. Well, that's the real question. I mean, it go back to my pet rocks analogy. Nobody had a problem with people wasting their money on pet rocks if they wanted to get a laugh or whatever got them going. But when the government compels you to do it, when the government forces you to buy something, think about it in terms of this. You've got a perfectly good system that works 24/7.
Yeah.
Provides power when it's needed. Operates more efficiently because it's being operated constantly. In the case, for example, of a nuclear power plant, they run almost 100% of the time. Full blast. That's the kind of... whereas with a solar panel, on average in the U.S., it's about 35% of the output. So if you have 100 megawatts of installed capacity, you get 35 megawatts on an hourly basis. It obviously sometimes you get 100, but other times you get 0, and it averages out to 35. And so you've got a system that only operates 1/3 of the time, and you've got to pay for the additional backup systems that are required, even though those were doing fine before they added on this stuff. And that's the way the system works. And what used to happen, Zeb, is we used to have public utility commissions that were designed. We had legislators that weren't out to, change the weather. And in essence, they looked out for the interests of consumers. They knew that people had a hard time paying their utility bills, and they didn't want them to suffer any more than possible, so they scrutinized every last dime these utilities spent. Nowadays, it's full of activists. The Greens have taken over a lot of this stuff, both in the legislatures and the public utility commissions. A lot of times they don't even know what they're doing. They're passing bills, from some shysters from New York City or Silicon Valley or something that push them and wine and dine them and get them to adopt these policies. And then the next thing you know, off take the electric rates. And, if you're mom and pop kettle and you're having a hard time keeping a light bulb going, and the price just went up, your life's that much worse.
Dan, I've been taking a lot of heat because over the last couple of months, when I called Idaho Power, I asked them to participate in a question and answer program, a segment on my show, and they refused. They won't even talk to me about what they're doing, going green energy, total 100% green energy. I have called them cowards, and I'm going to stand behind my statement. Why are they being so secretive and so clandestine? Why won't they answer the questions? And then they make statements like it'll be the most inexpensive electricity costs in the country. How can they say that when we start talking about batteries, we start talking about land values and everything else? Why won't they answer questions? I mean, you don't know the answer to that as to why, but we, the public, should have the right to ask them, and they're hiding under their desk.
They listen to are elected officials. That's the only people they will listen to. They don't listen to you, Zeb. They don't listen to me. They listen to the people that have them by the short hairs, if you'll pardon the expression. And if your politicians aren't doing their job, if they aren't asking those questions, if they aren't probing deeply about what is really going on with these things, nobody's going to have any answers. And therefore, it's up to the politicians, the elected officials. They bear the burden of making sure that consumers don't end up paying a lot more than they need to, or end up like in California where they're shutting down power to hundreds of thousands of people. You know, they're living in the dark ages in one of the most advanced states.
Yep.
And until those politicians start asking hard questions of these people who owe their livelihoods to them, they won't do anything.
Absolutely. Dan, we've got a caller with a question or a comment. Caller, quickly, you're on the air, please, and speak up if you would.
Sure. My question today is, I've been approached by several people about putting solar panels on my house, and I've thought about it, and the way he explained it to me is if I put a solar panel on my house, it generates electricity for my place. Any extra goes back on the wire as a credit. And then at the end of the day, when I don't have any sunshine to run my solar power, I get the credit back off the wire. And so it's pretty much a friendly exchange type of setup. If everybody did that, and when the sun's out and Idaho Power is not getting anybody drawn off their line, and then when the sun goes down and Idaho Power has to supply everybody, how'd that have changed things? I'll let you go.
Dan, respond to that call, please.
Yeah, well, that's another thing. That's another thing that's going on, too. A lot of these outfits that push these things, and they'll come to talk to you, one of the things is they're much more efficient when they're laid out in an industrial, you know, the kind of farm you were talking about with 1,000 acres. They generally don't do that well on houses. Now, if you're off the grid and you've got to have electricity, you know, in many cases that might fit the bill. But if you're on the grid, the issue, and I don't know what the state law in Idaho is, but basically what happens in much of the country is they've got something called net metering, which is a fancy way of saying that if you produce more electricity than you're using during the day, you're at work and things aren't running at home, you get to sell, the utility has to buy your power at a retail cost for a wholesale product. And which in some cases can be a 65% markup. So your neighbors are paying more on their bills because you put solar panels on your roof, because they're buying a product that could be produced for a lot less at a retail rate. It all gets very complicated very quick, but the long and short of it is there's a lot of these things, and one of the things is, remember, I talked about that taxpayer paying for 30% of it. Part of the reason these companies come in and they don't necessarily sell you the solar panels to put on your roof, they want to own the solar panels, and it's just a paperwork exchange because they want those tax credits because they take them back to Wall Street, and big fat companies that don't that have a big tax obligation get to buy those tax credits from somebody out in Magic Valley to lessen their tax bill. That's a direct dollar for dollar.
Yeah. Dan, I guess I'm not trying to be of a generation behind. I'm not trying to go back to the stagecoach days, but I'm sitting here, and outside my window, I can see these cancer sticks on the landscape, these great big wind turbines. When I drive to Boise, I just look at the land that's covered by these solar panels, and I just wonder, and I cringe, if this is where we're headed with Idaho Power going totally green and more land upon more land being taken for the wind turbines and the solar panels. Once we're there, we're stuck. I mean, the cost, the reliability, we're stuck with what they provide us, and there's no way out.
Yep, and if in the process, because remember they're subsidized, they also get first dibs on the electric market. So they get to sell their power into the market before anybody else. So they push out the coal, they push out the hydro, they push out the nuclear, they push out the natural gas. What happens is it makes them less economic.
Dan, are you still there? We lost your call.
Yes, sir.
We lost it for a minute. One of the things that really bothers me about this entire story is that they keep saying with one of their spokesmen, a guy by the name of Sven Berg, that they keep preaching about how when they achieve their 100% clean energy goal, it will always benefit the customer. That remains to be seen, and at that juncture, it's too late.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the problem with this, Zeb, is we're marching forward with this in a lot of the states. And a lot of the problem is at the state level. You know, you blame a lot of this stuff on the feds, but the truth of the matter is a lot of these are state policies pushed by part-time legislators who don't really understand this stuff, and they get these, you know, slick lawyers coming in from New York City or L.A. or something, and they'll sell them a pig in a poke, you know?
Yeah.
And make it sound real good, wine and dine them, and the next thing you know, they've got some bill to do this, that, or the other thing, which makes a lot of people on Wall Street happy, but isn't going to make the folks at home happy when their bills go up.
Absolutely.
And they're going to have to go up.
Absolutely.
Over time to pay for all this nonsense. And all of which is against the backdrop. It'd be one thing if we didn't have coal in this country, if we hadn't invented nuclear, if we didn't have hydro, if we didn't have the world's largest supplies of natural gas. But we do have all those things. And so why make the Chinese rich by buying their solar panels or the French rich by buying their windmills when we could be making that stuff right here at home, putting our people to work, keeping rural economies alive by producing something instead of just, you know, big fields of blacked out solar panels from China. Why not do that?
Absolutely.
And it all comes back to this whole global warming thing that they're trying to convince us that how's the global warming out there, by the way?
It's going to be a nice day today, kind of a typical, very typical and average Indian summer day, maybe up into the higher 60s. Nothing out of the norm whatsoever.
Sounds pretty nice.
Wheels, you got to be quicker in turning them up. Dan, I've got time for one quick phone call. I'm going to put that call on the air quickly. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air. 1 minute. That's all I've got.
Okay, well, the whole thing's based on a hoax. CO2 is not destroying the planet. I mean, it's just a small amount of our atmosphere. CO2, without CO2, we don't eat and we don't breathe. And they're trying to tell us this. The other thing quickly is that they have to have 100% backup. So those coal fire or gas backup have to be ready to go at an instant. They have to be ready to produce the energy as soon as the clouds come over the solar panels or we have a rainstorm or whatever. The solar panels aren't working. You have to have the instant backup. Just the logistics of it is very expensive.
I appreciate it. Let me have Dan respond quickly because I'm almost out of time. Dan, respond to the caller, please, quickly. I got about 30 seconds.
Your caller knows exactly what he's talking about. They're breaking the system, Zeb. It's by design. Remember who's behind this at the end of the day. There's a lot of people making money off it, flim-flamming the American public, and then there's the Greens who are behind it.
Absolutely.
And they've always wanted to break this system, make things more expensive, make it so people don't have any kids, and there's too many people anyway, so that's part of the design.
You know, Dan, I'm going to keep hammering away at Idaho Power because the powers that be refusing to come on the show and answer questions like we raised here this morning, they have proven to me that they are cowards hiding underneath their desk. And I appreciate you, Dan Kish, with the American Energy Alliance. God bless you, my dear friend, and I'll talk to you next Tuesday.
God bless, Zeb.
Thank you, sir. Straight answers to the questions and the problems with green energy from Dan Kish, and I really trust that man. I want to remind you about Scott Gano. There is a good old boy right there, Gano Landscaping, and let me tell you something. Now is the time to make sure that you get all your trees trimmed and pruned, fruit trees, ornamental shade trees, large, dangerous trees. I'm telling you, you might have a limb or two during the course of the summer that, oh boy, if the wind comes up this winter, it might come right right through the big bay window. You better make sure everything's checked out and get a hold of Gano Landscaping today at 336 South, 450 west of Paul. Number to call, 438-2485. Actually, two numbers to call, 431-8733. Let me tell you something. They do a phenomenal job. They've been over here many, many times. They will and can serve you. Gano Landscaping in Paul, 438-2485. Give them a call today. Also, quickly want to remind you about our friends at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Number to call, 436-5636. When there is the passing of a loved one, like I've said many, many times, everything just gets thrown up in the air. You don't know what to do. You don't know the time frames and everything. Please calmly call that number at 436-5636 and let them serve you. Joel Heward, his family, and his staff always providing the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort, and always with the highest ethical standards and unquestioned integrity. Hanson Mortuary in Rupert, 436-5636. And Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. In just a minute, we're going to go to our next guest, but I've got to take care of some other business here real quick, and I want to remind you about a great big fall clearance that's taking place at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. And, of course, they've got window coverings 40% off. They've got the patterned roller shades, the ones that go up like that and come down, double cell, honeycomb, wood horizontal, all the shutters, 40% off. And they've got mattress closeout up to 60% savings. Wow. No money down, no interest for 12 months on approved credit. You'd better get in there. And also, all the new furniture there for your home for this fall and winter. Absolutely beautiful. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see those great folks today. One more good word, and it's time to get outside. Boy, is it time to get outside. It's time right now to get outside. It's beautiful out there. Jump on a side-by-side or a four-wheeler, head for the hills, and enjoy. Take the camera and enjoy all the beautiful fall colors. Let's ride 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4. Absolutely all your side-by-sides and four-wheelers, all the accessories, and the best doggone service department to keep you running, too. Let's ride 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, where the fun is sold. Absolutely. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and with us for our next segment is a gentleman that's been on our program before, the author of Postgate, How the Washington Post Betrayed Deep Throat, Covered Up Watergate, and began today's partisan advocacy journalism. John O'Connor, how are you?
I am great. It's an honor to be on your program again.
John, I'll tell you what, I appreciate your remarks from the last time, and I'm pretty loyal to people that do a great job on my program, and I wanted you to come back. This absolute mess that's going on in D.C. right now, the first three words of our Constitution are not being honored. We, the people. I have every doggone right to know what's going on, what's being said, what's being insinuated by the Democrats in the possible impeachment of my president, Donald Trump. And I'm not being told anything. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's obvious what the Congress is doing, including Congressman Schiff. But what bothers me more is on the masthead of the Washington Post is the phrase, democracy dies in darkness. If the media spoke to us all of us citizens, we would know what's going on and we would have the facts and we would laugh this one off of the screen. But we're not being told anything. That's my point. We're not being told of the facts about the Biden corruption, which was the predicate for the president wanting an investigation, which is in our national interest. President Obama made it a priority to root out the oligarchs' corruption, the looting of Ukraine. Eric Holder and Theresa May appeared at a press conference in April of 2018 to talk about rooting out corruption, but yet we're not told the facts. Instead, what we get, and I'm going to quote this almost verbatim from the news medium, there is no evidence of any wrongdoing by Joe Biden or Hunter Biden regarding Ukraine. That is absurd. That thing is reported time and time again. And all we have to do is have a media that tells us the facts. Now, we do know about Biden removing the prosecutor. And then, of course, the mainstream media tells us that the prosecutor must have been corrupt. But if they would report the facts, you would see that there's very, very serious and solid evidence of serious corruption by Joe Biden and his son. There's no doubt about it, but we're not being told that. That's what bothers me. And you say we the people are not getting the facts from the news media. And we give these folks the airwaves. They should be telling us the truth.
Okay, well, let's break this down a little bit, John. And Wheels, you're going to have to ride that gain. I've got feedback right here, and then turn him up louder, please. But, John, I'm not going to give kudos to any one specific network because they've got holes in their screen door like everyone else. But of all the media, of the ABCs, CBSs, CNNs, etc., MSNBCs, it seems like the ones that are trying overall, percentage-wise, to get the news out in honesty seems to be Fox News, and they're being stifled and absolutely have doors slammed in their face.
Well, that's right. I agree with that. Fox News has been successful with the mantra, we report, you decide, which is exactly what I'm trying to say, that if the mainstream media did more reporting and less deciding for us, we'd all be better off. But what happens is we get these conclusions disguised as facts, which is there's absolutely no evidence of wrongdoing by the Bidens, or it's been shown or proven by investigation that there's no wrongdoing. That's just absolute nonsense. There are facts which the public should know, from which I would conclude, and many would conclude, that there is serious corruption there. If not, if nothing else, a conflict of interest. But it looks to me like serious corruption. But once again, at least Fox is trying to get the facts out.
Yeah.
There are still some facts that probably haven't been reported on Fox. It's not been real deep on it, but at least it's trying. And we find these shows where we get something, we learn something from them. We don't learn something from the major networks, from MSNBC or CNN. It's been really terrible reporting.
John, I wasn't born yesterday. I wasn't born at night, and I didn't fall off a melon wagon this morning before the program. But how gullible do they think we are? I mean, here's Hunter Biden, and he takes a position on a board of directors with an energy company over in Ukraine, getting over $600,000 a year. Talk to Daddy? No, never did. Here's Hunter Biden making some deals with the Chinese, flies over there on Air Force Two with his then Vice President Daddy. Talk to Daddy about it? Oh, never did. How dumb do they think I am?
Well, unfortunately, they think that 60% or 50% of the people are very dumb, and that they're going to look at everyone on the other side of the fence as being evil. Anything they say is evil or wrong or a lie. And if you trust your opinion makers, if on the left side of the spectrum, which people do, they trust their opinion makers because they're good people. They tell you that all the time. They're good, the other side's bad. And so if you trust the opinion makers, then everything that you say or you see is something that they just disregard because you're, like, my gosh, you might be horrors, a conservative. My gosh, he's a conservative. You can't believe him. So I think that's what we have going on here now. People of common sense, including those people who are in the middle of the spectrum with common sense, can see that this plainly is corruption. Let me give you a fact that has not widely been bruited about, but April 14, 2014, the Brits, in conjunction with the Americans, announced that they have impounded $23 million of, yes, Burisma Holdings, in a London court on the grounds that it's been looted. And it was money laundered, and it was in a bank account in London in Banco de Paribas. So, what happens? April 18th, just 4 days later, Burisma announces it's hiring, yes, Hunter Biden. It also is hiring someone associated with John Kerry, but Hunter Biden was the key hire there because Joe Biden was the point person for the administration on anti-corruption activities. What happens over the next year? Over the next year, the British court is waiting, tapping its finger on the desk, waiting for a document from Ukraine saying, yes, that's our money, please send it back to us. Well, guess what happens? After Hunter Biden is hired, all of a sudden the Ukrainians suddenly lose interest in getting this $23 million back. They had been hot on it before Hunter Biden was hired. Now, no document comes to the court, and the British court announces from the bench in very frustrated tones that he can't understand why the Ukrainians haven't given him a document. He's been waiting for a year. So he says, fine, listen, I have no choice. I have to give the impounded funds back to Burisma. I'm sorry, because the Ukrainians are not cooperating. So guess what? That money goes to Cyprus. Very happy. The oligarchs, a Russian-connected oligarch, hasn't. And this goes on and on and on. So it's later that Biden fires the prosecutor that revives the corruption investigation against Hunter and Joe Biden, but at least against Hunter Biden. But that first action screams out corruption. 4 days after the seizure, why is he being hired? to get that money back. And it's well worth the investment, isn't it? They got $23 million back. And who knows, I mean, there supposedly were billions were looted from the Ukraine. Who knows how many billions left the Ukraine because Hunter Biden was hired? We don't know that. We don't have enough facts on that. I would certainly love to see any documents that talk about what Hunter Biden told the Burisma about what he could do. I bet you those things would be a real killer. I don't know that we'd ever get them and so forth, and I think that's what President Trump wanted. But certainly, if it looks like a duck, waddles like a duck, quacks like a duck, maybe it's a duck.
John, I'm sorry, but I don't mean to beleaguer this point, but I think it bears saying, and I'm pretty blunt on this program. But here's Hunter Biden. Let's look at this kid. He was a nothing, a zero, drug addict, alcoholic, bounced out of the Navy, and all of a sudden foreign governments like Ukraine and China are going to trust him to be the bag boy for a bunch of money? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Well, it's very rational. Those guys know what they're doing. They're spending their dollars. And we know that no one here listening to this program spends their money for no purpose, not to get value. What value are they getting from hiring Hunter Biden? Well, guess what? They're getting a lot of value. They're getting far more. I think they paid $3 million to Hunter Biden's company over the next year and a half. $3 million. Probably more than $50,000 a month for Hunter, but that's beside the point. $3 million. We know they got at least $23 million more, but they also probably got billions out of it because Burisma was looting the heck out of the country. So, yes, I agree with you. If you've got an ounce of common sense, you can see this. But what's happening is, read USA Today yesterday. They just really demolished everything you just said as being just a bunch of nonsense, just a bunch of lies that are coming from the Trumpers. This is just a bunch of nonsense. There's no evidence of corruption. This is all made up. They quote all the people there. For instance, another fact, George Soros, was put in by President Obama to his private outfit, became an anti-corruption investigator in Ukraine, where George Soros, guess what, has business interests. So now they're some of the people that are now talking about how terrible the people are who were trying to investigate Biden. So we have a lot of political infiltration over there that nobody is reporting. It's right out there in plain sight for anyone who cares to get it. But if we're waiting for our media to tell us the facts. Listen, don't hold your breath. You're going to get blue in the face.
Let me ask you this, John, and I really, really value your opinion because it's an educated opinion from what you've seen in the past to where it is today. Looking at the potential impeachment of President Donald Trump with the Democrats in basically the 11th hour with about 12 and a half months before the election on Trump's possible re-election, where are we? Are they going to be able to pull this off, or is it all a smokescreen that's going to absolutely blow up in the Democrats' face?
Well, first of all, they're never going to impeach him. They don't want to impeach him. They don't want to make any of these people have to vote on it. It's done merely to create a bunch of smoke. And there are an awful lot of suburban housewives out there with college educations in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania, and Kentfield, California, who really think this is terrible and we've got to get rid of this president because he's done. We don't know, but gee, there must be some terrible things. But this is all a political ad. It is a political ad by partisans in Congress and the media, which supposedly holds people accountable. This is my point. They are not holding that partisan group accountable. They're not saying what is real and what is true. And that's what bothers me. Partisans are going to be partisans. Our founding fathers envisioned that. But they also envision a free press to take care of that. And that's not happening. This is our main problem in America today. We have shows like yours. We have talk radio. We have a little bit of this on Fox TV. But that's about it. That's about it. The main megaphones still out there are really going along with this whole impeachment stuff and making a big deal. So these guys are getting free airtime. They don't have to pay for the advertising, and it's an anti-Trump campaign.
John, does it surprise you, again, with your expertise in studying these issues, does it surprise you, and tell me if I'm wrong, that the Republican Party en masse, really, they're acting like a bunch of little whipped cowards that are standing in the corner just waiting for the Democrats to call the next play? I don't see the vocalism that needs to be out there to fight back. Am I wrong?
Oh, you're not wrong at all. And one of the reasons I think that President Trump has been popular is for years and years, people are getting tired. Common sense people are getting tired of the Republicans turning tail and not being able to take the heat. And the Republicans, the conservatives, are not good at getting the message out and fighting back verbally. They don't do it well. Whether it's the 9/11 report, which I commented on, whether it's, you name it, President Bush got so much, George W., that his last 4 years he just went into a hole. He just couldn't take it anymore, and he and Laura and Andrew Carr just went into a hole and said, we can't take it anymore. We're going to try to be nice guys. And so that's what happens. People cannot take the ferocity of the other side rather than fighting back. And one of the reasons people like President Trump is he fights back.
Yeah.
He's not afraid. He's undeterred. And the mainstream media, which is still scratching its head as to why Trump got elected, I think one of the big factors was the mainstream media. They help him get elected because people are sick and tired of a partisan media that's not really telling the truth. And at least we get a guy in there, however rough and however crude he is, sometimes vulgar, he's fighting. And he's saying stuff and he's fighting back. But there aren't a lot of people who do that. And my view is I would like to do this in very measured, lawyer-like terms. I would love someone to, that's why I wrote this book. I mean, I'm not doing it for the money. I got no staff. If you want to make a small fortune in publishing a book, start out with a large fortune. That's what I would tell you. So I'm doing this as a labor of love. I just hope people can read the book and see what happens. And I think there needs to be more principled argument and fact distribution, fact dissemination by the right side of the spectrum, which gets cowed because the right side of the spectrum they're not into publishing, they're not into the media. They traditionally have not owned that traditionally have been out in private enterprise. And so, the right side of the spectrum is not good at this. The left side of the spectrum has got a lot of lawyers and a lot of people who are out there just yapping, a lot of political consultants who make money when their party's in power. And they're very good at the megaphone, and you keep repeating the same lies and lies over and over again, and people believe it.
John, one final thought. Tonight...
Housewives, or I say housewives, that's maybe wrong. These now nice, predominantly women, college-educated women, from being very upset.
Yeah.
My friends are that way. They're very nice, college-educated women who, boy, they're horrified at these terrible things that the president seems to have done, or at least he's getting into all these scrapes. Well, the scrapes are somewhat, and to a great degree, fabricated, and the media is letting people get away with it. They're partisan fabricated. Look at Russiagate. I mean, that was a fabricated mess. Now we've got Ukraine-gate. It's a fabricated mess.
Absolutely.
But no one is speaking up.
Absolutely.
And they're not speaking up loudly. And I'm hoping that we can at least shame the media into presenting both sides of the fact. Maybe I'm dreaming on that one, but I'm hoping that if they just will be shamed into presenting both sides of the factual situation and leaving their opinions for the opinion page or for the opinion shows.
John, I've only got exactly a minute left. Short answer to this, but tonight is a glaring example of how the media could ask questions that are going to open up exposés of giving good answers. When the Democratic debates start tonight, ABC should be asking about Hunter Biden. ABC should be asking about Joe Biden's involvement. They should be asking poignant questions, and tonight they're in a fishbowl. I don't think they'll do it.
They don't do it, and the questions that they will ask will be patty cakes served up by people who don't really know how to ask questions. And so there'll be canned responses. They've already got them in the can, and it'll be like, oh, gee, it was an error of judgment maybe for Hunter Biden to make it look like something was wrong, and boy, he's not going to do it again. That's what we're going to get tonight. We're going to get a lot of dribble, mindless dribble. And some of this is because we have entrusted our information, our democracy, to people who really don't know how to handle facts.
Absolutely.
Or don't want to.
Absolutely. John O'Connor, and he is the author of Postgate, How the Washington Post Betrayed, Deep Throat, Covered Up Watergate, and Began Today's Partisan Advocacy Journalism. Where can the book be obtained? I urge my listeners to get a copy. John, tell us.
Well, first, of course, go on Amazon, or Barnes & Noble is a good source. My website for the book is postgatebook.com. But the best thing to do, I would say, is go on Amazon or Barnes & Noble and pre-order. We would love that to happen because we can hopefully get some sort of a public outcry about to try to encourage impartial journalism, more impartial journalism. That would be great.
Absolutely. John, you got to promise to come back on my program. You're an excellent guest. Thank you very much, John O'Connor.
Anytime.
Thank you, sir.
Great talking to you.
God bless you, man. Thank you very much. John O'Connor, and tells it like it is politically, and I totally agree with him. Thank you very, very much. Time for the weather. Wheels says it's past time for the weather. He's right. Weather brought to you by Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company, and they've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. The best of tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, financial statement preparation, payroll services, all of this and so much more. I urge you to get a hold of them today for you, your family, and your business. They have offices in Burley and Rupert, the best. Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. Right now, here's the weather.
Another beautiful day here in the valley as we make our way through this work week. And for today, sunny skies, we are expecting a high of 70. Winds light and variable, becoming out of the east at about 5 miles an hour. Tonight, mostly clear skies with a low of 38. Tomorrow, another nice one. Sunny skies, high of 74. Clouds rolling in for tomorrow night with a low of 44. By Thursday, mostly cloudy skies, expecting a high of 58. Winds are going to be picking up. Gusts as high as 25 miles an hour for Thursday. Thursday night, partly cloudy skies with a low of 34. By Friday, mostly sunny, 53. Saturday, showers likely, mostly in the afternoon, partly sunny skies and a high of 50. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. She does out. I don't think she gets enough praise for the excellent weather that she does, and I appreciate her. Gina, of course, with our weather brought to you by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for over 50 years with offices at 1710 Overland and Burley and 625th Street in Rupert. Thank you very much. Oh, my, don't forget, I got a couple of words to get in here real quick. Don't forget the iComfort Wi-Fi thermostat from Lennox featuring remote control access so you can adjust your home's temperature from anywhere, any place. Absolutely. Get a hold of Ramsey Heating and Electric along with Lennox today. They're offering up to $1,600 in rebates on a new system. So make yourself comfy. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459. Thank you. And last but not least, our thanks go out to people that I know personally really are dedicated and responsive to helping you. I'm talking about Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Yep, life insurance, health insurance, employee benefits. They really take care of you. They're dedicated and responsive and devoted to serving you. I know that for a fact. Call their number, 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. What have we got coming up next hour? Well, Dr. History is out of town, and so we're going to have a lady by the name of Nikki Neely, and she's on with an organization that she's the president and founder of called Speech First. I think you'll find this very interesting about the losses of our free speech rights in this country. And then at 10:32 this morning, we're going to have our dear friend, Representative Fred Wood, come on the program and talk about various issues, including the salmon issue and Medicaid and others. So that's going to wrap up the program for this morning. So stay tuned for the next hour. I think that's it, except I got to remind you that Lunch Bunch will be on the 24th, which is next week on Thursday at Denny's Restaurant at 11:30. Don't forget that. Zeb at the Ranch Lunch Bunch at Denny's next week on the 24th. Put that on your calendar. I'm going to turn it over to Wheels real quick, and we'll be back after the CBS News. Oh, good morning, and welcome back to hour number 3, Zeb at the Ranch on a Tuesday, October 15th. Beautiful day outside, and of course we're brought to you by your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations celebrating right now a great big fall tire sale. You stop in and see them today. Other great advertisers include Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And, of course, Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Want to remind you again, now is a perfect time to get into Save on Shells with our buddy Anthony at 1827 Overland in Burley. If you need a camper shell for your pickup, I mean, if you're looking for a certain style or color, let me tell you, Anthony has got camper shells upon camper shells all over the place with the greatest in selection, and he's been in business since 1995, so believe me, if you want to talk to somebody that knows about camper shells, that is the man. Anthony, give him a call at 312-1525. That number again, 312-1525. He can help save you money and the best of quality service and low prices at Save on Shells, 1827 Overland in Burley. That number again, 312-1525. Want to also again mention to you about our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. And of course, they have the iComfort Wi-Fi thermostat from Lennox featuring remote control access so you can adjust your home's temperature from anywhere, anytime. Absolutely. Check it out today. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric along with Lennox, offering up to $1,600 in rebates on a new system. The number to call, Ramsey Heating and Electric, 678-0459. Let's go to the phone line right now, and our next guest is the president and founder of Speech First, and I'm anxious to hear all about it. Good morning, Nikki Neely. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Boy, you've got a cheery voice. It's nice to talk to somebody that just bubbles this morning.
Well, it's a beautiful day. Even though I live in Washington, D.C., it's still a beautiful day.
Well, you're back there amongst the swamp, and so you've got to have a good attitude. Nikki, tell me a little bit about Speech First. What is it?
Sure. We are a nationwide membership association that was created to defend students' rights on campus, primarily freedom of speech. And we do that mostly through litigation. We have sued a couple universities since we were founded last February. We sued the University of Michigan, University of Texas, which is my husband's alma mater, and the University of Illinois, which is my alma mater. So I hope I'm going to stop getting those calls asking me for money, but probably not. But we believe that these schools have violated our student members' rights, that they have policies in the books that have both the intention and the effect of chilling student speech, so that they are intentionally trying to discourage students from talking about controversial issues, which sadly ends up often being political and religious speech. And we say, you know what, that's not good enough, so we're going to take it to court.
Nikki, I'm an old man. I'm 72 years old, and I'm a long time from college days, but I just cannot understand how there can be a stifling or a stoppage or a threat on any campus in America of free speech. I mean, back when I was in school, that was unheard of.
I mean, I feel like I'm old enough to remember when the First Amendment was the one amendment everybody actually liked. But it turns out that's not the case these days. You hear things coming from campuses like words of violence, which then students think gives them license to actually attack people that have opinions that they disagree with, or to censor and shut them down. I mean, it's scary and it's sad because the First Amendment and free speech, they're such beautiful things. I mean, it is how disenfranchised groups throughout history have been able to get their message out, to persuade others through the power of words. And so for students to not understand that and think, you know what, the right response to an opinion I dislike is to shut it down, is really, I think it's really scary, because I think it bodes ill for the future of our country.
Give me a scenario, if you would. I know some circumstances that have occurred in regards to how are they going to be litigated against. The students, I'm talking first and foremost by the colleges. I've heard threats that if a policing group of students overhears a remark about somebody says, well, I like Donald Trump, I like what he's doing with the economy, etc., and they deem that as hate speech, they can be turned into the university and possibly thrown out of college?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and it's scary because if you think that can't happen in America, this is, I mean, what are you talking about? But yeah, universities are, frankly, they're not stupid enough to go out and flagrantly ban that opinion, even though they don't necessarily want it or like it. So what they'll do instead is they'll employ, what I call weasel words. They'll ban offensive speech, hateful speech, biased speech. And, those are very broad terms, kind of in the eye of the beholder. That's like saying food is delicious. I mean, what is offensive to me might not be offensive to you. And who ends up being the person who's making the final call? It's the diversity and inclusion bureaucracy, right? It's not Justice Thomas or Justice Kavanaugh. And so if schools actually have, there are hundreds of schools around the country that have programs on the books called bias response teams. And these are programs where schools will encourage students to report on their classmates. A lot of these schools have portals on their website where you can go in, you can fill it out, you can say, I heard Zeb say XYZ, I found it offensive. And you will get an email from the school saying a report has been made against you. Please come in and talk about it. On a lot of campuses, you can make those reports anonymously, so I don't even have to attach my name to it. And so, you think this is the kind of system that they had in East Germany. This has no place on a modern college campus where students are policing each other's words and getting them in trouble. Even if you're exonerated, it's punishment by process. The idea of getting an email from the dean of students saying a complaint's been made against you, how voluntary does that feel? That's terrifying. And so students are rational actors. They think, you know what, I heard about this program. I don't feel like dealing with the hassle. I'm just not going to talk about it. Some of my student members at the University of Michigan told me they discussed politics in their dorm room with the door locked because they wanted to talk about things like the Second Amendment. It sickens me that that's taking place in America.
I'm sitting here and I'm white-knuckled over this because I'm one of the old boys that just gets fighting mad when I hear about this kind of activity going on in America. And I heard two things that you were saying just a moment ago. That the people that are supposedly being accused of hate speech or wrongful speech, it could be just hearsay, or there's another aspect to this that really bothers me. Supposing someone has a vendetta against somebody and they just have a vindictiveness to say that they said something that was not appealing. I mean, where are the rights here?
Right, exactly. Where are the rights? And, on public university campuses, these are constitutionally protected, opinions, right? You might not like it, right? It could be racist speech. It could be, misogynistic speech. It might be unpleasant, but that doesn't mean that you can outlaw it. And so for the schools to allot themselves this broad power to discourage students from speaking, I think is something that we cannot allow. And so that's why we've decided to draw a line in the sand. And so we want to hold some of these schools accountable because I want them to go to their school administrator conferences every summer and say, get your policies right, get this stuff off the books or they're coming for you. Because I think this is absolutely unacceptable. I have a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old, and there are schools around the country I would never send my child to. Our students deserve better. Our children deserve better.
Nikki, I'm appalled that whether it's my old alma mater of the University of Wisconsin or if it's any college across the United States, why aren't the colleges stepping up and saying, wait a minute, when people are involved in a discourse of discussing politics or maybe a baseball game or whatever, and it's not standing up on a podium and trying to preach to people, we have nothing to do and we should have nothing to say about private speech. But the colleges, I lay at fault for not standing up for this.
I think you're right. I think there are a lot of mid-level managers who, frankly, just, they don't like the speech. There was a report done by a fellow from the American Enterprise Institute, Sam Abrams, and he polled a bunch of college administrators. We hear so much about how faculty is biased, that, there are, 1 in every 50 faculty in the Northeast is a Republican versus Democrats. And it actually turns out that college administrators, the disparity in ideology actually pale. It blows the faculty ratios out of the water. That you think, students are being, going to school, students are maybe a little bit liberal. Students are taught by professors that are pretty liberal. And then their student life programming and their dorms and all these other programs on campus are overseen by administrators that are extremely liberal. And so there's kind of not really, they don't even have a fighting chance because the idea of checking your politics at the door, you're here to learn, you're here to expand your horizons, to debate, to discuss late into the night, to be exposed to new ideas. That seems to have flown out the window, which is crazy, right? That's the whole point of college. You're supposed to learn how to be a grown-up and to be exposed to new ideas so you can function as an adult in society. But instead, I think a lot of administrators look at college as, this is 4 years where you learn the talking points, and if you think differently, you'll come around. And that's so wrong.
Let me ask you this, Nikki, and I'm not trying to insinuate that someone has done this, because I don't know, and I certainly don't want to plant a seed of somebody doing this, but what about the bugging of dormitory rooms and other areas to catch people saying or thinking something that the majority of the liberal mindset doesn't like? Have they tried that?
Well, there's a lot of schools will have not only their campus-wide bias response programs, but some dorms will also have their additional ones. There was a student at Michigan State last semester who was reported to the bias response team because he was watching a Ben Shapiro video in his bedroom.
Oh, my goodness.
That was deemed hateful, which is, you think, why do you don't need to bug if all these students are telling on each other. You have encouraged this tattletale mindset. I don't want those people in my workforce. I don't want to hire those people. I don't want my kids hanging out with people like that who think, you know what, I'm not going to deal with my problems myself. I'm going to turn to the government and let them do it for me. If you hear somebody on the street saying something mean, yelling at their girlfriend, frankly, it's kind of incumbent on you as a citizen, as a member of society, to walk up and say, hey, man, don't talk to her that way. But instead, these programs, I think, are teaching students, don't deal with your problems, go tell a grown-up. And that is so disempowering. It kind of blows my mind that students are embracing these policies, that students have, when they protest, some students at Howard University last year were asking the school to put in place a bias response team. You're sort of assuming that the school is always going to be on your side, but Will they? I mean, I'm skeptical of that. I think that's a very dangerous path to go down.
I am just absolutely flabbergasted at what you're saying. Tell us a little bit about you and your organization. I mean, when you walk into Dodge City and say, hey, boys, it's time to clear out of town, are you being listened to? And tell us some of your success stories.
Sure. I mean, we don't give schools a heads up. We don't, schools, I think, they're used to getting a letter saying, oh, we noticed that you're doing something naughty. We'd like you to fix it. And I think of it a little bit differently. I think, you know what, you don't get a heads up because your heads up is the Constitution. Your heads up is the First Amendment. If you have policies in the books that are violating it, that's it. You're going to find out about your lawsuit because we're going to serve you, and then we're going to go on Fox News and talk about it, and we're going to talk to the Wall Street Journal about it. You don't get a heads up. So you better make sure that your house is in order.
Wow.
It's a little aggressive, but, I think schools, the fact that this is so widespread. There's a group called the Foundation for Individual Rights in Education. They survey schools' policies every year, and they have found that 9 out of 10 schools around the country have at least one policy in the books that substantially impacts students or faculty speech and expression. That's a huge number. I mean, 9 out of 10 schools. There are 4,000 degree-granting institutions in America. So there are 3,600 schools around the country that have at least one policy that impacts student speech. That's crazy.
Nikki, I'm sitting here, though, and I'm wondering another aspect of this story, another spoke in the wheel. Why are students that are saying, like if I'm talking to you sitting outside of a classroom on a sunny afternoon and we're talking politics and you talk to me about Donald Trump or you talk to me about the possible impeachment proceedings, somebody doesn't like that and they turn us into the administration, etc. Right there is where me, as a big old German, I would say, you go ahead and turn me in for anything you want to, and I will sue you, I will sue the school's administration, because I still honor our Constitution. The students really should be standing up for themselves more than what they are, should they not?
They should, yeah. But, I think it's scary to stand up as a student, right? Because if you do that, you know that you might be ostracized by your peers. Your grades might suffer. Maybe, will there be retaliation that you don't even know about? Are you applying for a scholarship or a study abroad program you won't get into? So I think a lot of students are a little bit gun-shy about doing that, like going out in a blaze of glory, because at the end of the day, they still want a degree. And so we're structured in a way that our lawsuits are filed on behalf of our students. It's speech first versus the school instead of being Nikki versus University of Illinois. And so the students are listed in our complaints as student A, student B, student C, because we want to protect their anonymity. That's something they credibly fear that they will get in trouble. And so, we don't want them to get in trouble. We don't want them to go through a disciplinary hearing. We just want them to be able to express themselves without fear of, facing consequences of being, some of these policies at the University of Texas, you can be subject to discipline up to and including expulsion for sending a rude email. Can you imagine that? Who's defining what rude is?
Oh, my goodness. Speaking of the administrations, whether it's the University of Texas or any school, once you get involved in a case like this, are they, the administrations, are they backing up and saying, okay, maybe we made some mistakes, maybe we've infringed on the First Amendment, maybe we haven't created an aura of freedom like we should? What's their response?
Yeah, so the first case we filed was against the University of Michigan. The Department of Justice got involved. They filed a statement of interest that said, we think speech first is right and speech first is going to win. The university changed a couple of their policies pretty quickly. Imagine that. But they said when they did it, these were under consideration anyway. So we said, okay, you did it with the stroke of a pen. Our concern is you're going to undo it with the stroke of a pen when nobody's looking. In fact, one of the original political correctness codes from the 1980s was at the University of Michigan. That was struck down in court, 1989, Doe v. Michigan. Here we are, 30 years later, you've backslid. Why should I take you at your word? You're a bad actor. And so we actually just recently received a good ruling from the Sixth Circuit, and they said, yeah, you know what, this is kind of disingenuous how you guys did it. So I think that's good. I think that sends a message that, just because you're under pressure and you do it when somebody's looking doesn't mean that you're totally off the hook. And I think that sends a good message to schools.
Let me ask you this, Nikki, and I'm really fearful of what's going on in this country today more so than ever before. Whether it's on college campuses with the lack of free speech or whether it's in the churches with the threat against them for teaching and preaching the Bible, the Word of God. Where are we today in America on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not too bad, 10 being really dangerous? Where are we with losing free speech in this country?
Well, I think there are people who are very mindful of this, right? That, this is not, it should not be a partisan fight. And the fact that it has been made into a partisan fight kind of blows my mind. But I was just at the Value Voter Summit this past weekend, and I think there's a lot of average people, just everyday people who don't live in Washington, who are deeply concerned about this. They are concerned about the erosion of our values, of our American values. And so I think people are fed up. I mean, you hear about all this madness on campus, and I think people are just, they're fed up at this point. So you look at, a couple years ago, there were some incidents at University of Missouri and Evergreen State University, and years later, we have found out that there have been real repercussions for that. Their applications have been down. Their enrollments are down 20, 30%. They've had to close dorms and lay off faculty. People are voting with their feet and their dollars, and that sends a message to administrators. We don't want this nonsense anymore. I'm not sending my kid there. I'm not sending my money there. And so I hope that that's a good signal to administrators that, this is a market mechanism. If you express a commitment to free speech, like the University of Chicago has, they put out a statement in 2015, send a letter to other incoming freshmen. This is not a safe space. You have come here to be challenged. You have come here to learn. If this is not the environment you're looking for, frankly, we encourage you to go elsewhere. About 60 schools around the country have replicated that statement and adopted it. And, their applications are up. So there is I think there is a real, the pendulum is swinging the other way, where people are saying, you know what, no, we're not buying into this anymore. And so I'm encouraged by that.
But, Nikki, aren't we also seeing this same problem exacerbate itself into the private sector and going into businesses and coffee shops, etc.? I've heard stories about, like, at certain Starbucks, if they didn't like someone saying something politically, they asked them to leave, or policemen being asked to leave when they're coming in. Aren't we seeing somewhat of the similar problem in the private sector?
Yeah, I think, there is certainly a civility issue that is a little bit larger. But I point the finger at some of these campuses where students are learning illiberal behaviors. And so I think we really need to just draw a line in the sand and say, you know what, this is not how adults act. This is not how people function in society. We have to model better behavior. We have to expect more from our students, because if somebody were to act like that in my company, I'd fire them.
Yeah.
This is unacceptable.
We have a caller.
You're not entitled to be around people who agree with you 100% of the time. The world is not a safe space.
Absolutely.
So, I think it's incumbent on parents, I think, to teach their children, to be a little bit more resilient. You're not supposed to be bubble wrapped. You have to learn how to deal with adversity. And if somebody is unkind, there are better ways to deal with it than having a temper tantrum.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a quick question and comment. I've only got a minute left. Caller, real fast. Go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. I hope I'm coming in clearly.
Hurry, caller. I've only got a minute. Fast.
Okay. I just asked the lady last week, how evil is Washington, D.C.? Because it is the center of our government, the universe. How evil is it over there?
Nikki, respond to the caller, please.
Well, I think it's not totally awful, because there are people like me who try to work and make it a better place. But, I guess it's kind of in the eye of the beholder. But I'm biased.
Nikki, let me ask you this. If anybody has a story to tell or an observance of where our free speech is being taken away on campuses, etc., what would you recommend? How do they get a hold of you?
Sure. I would encourage people to go to our website, which is speechfirst.org. People can sign up for membership, which is only $5. You can stay informed about our different cases. But we also on our website have a portal to share your story. So they can reach out to me. It comes to me directly, and we can figure out a way to, help students if they have a problem to resolve it, or, frankly, if just a parent or a grandparent or an alumni wants to vent about what's going on, we're here for that too. We can maybe come up with some constructive solutions.
You are an outstanding lady, and I commend you for what you're doing. Nikki Neely with the Speech First, president and founder. God bless you, and please come back in the future. I've enjoyed it.
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. Wonderful lady right there, and I just absolutely am going to have her back. I want to thank a dear friend of mine that helped set that interview up, Matt Martini, back east. And, Matt, if you're listening this morning, thank you very much. I want to remind you also about Greystone Crossing, independent senior living at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. Oh, my goodness. It's absolutely a home environment. And I'm being really, really honest. It's beautiful, excellent kitchen facilities, beautiful rooms, all the amenities. And if you're living there, of course, you've got local transportation. You've got 3 meals a day, snacks. I mean, it's absolutely a wonderful location for seniors to be with their friends. Check it out. Call them and ask for an appointment to see the rooms. Matt and Kelly Wiggins at 208-650-4979. I'll repeat that number, 650-4979 at Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living, 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, we're going to send it back over to Wheels. I'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb.
Oh, thank you very much. Welcome back to our last half hour, abbreviated half hour, because I've got to boogie out of here a little bit early this morning. But I want to remind you about Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley. With Curtis and Lorena and their staff, they are your electronic headquarters. Absolutely. I urge you to stop in and check out the home theater systems, all the video surveillance cameras to protect you and your property, car stereos and speakers, complete sound systems. And when it comes to sitting down after a hard day's work and enjoying a good TV show, they've got the best of television. Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, LG TVs, great selection. And don't forget they're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6. They are waiting right this very minute to serve you. Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley. Telephone number to call, 678-6997. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and we're very honored to have one of the nicest, hard-working state representatives living right here in this area coming onto our program this morning, and I say good morning to Representative Fred Wood. Sir, good morning.
Good morning, Zeb. How are you?
Wonderful. I understand you're up in McCall right now. Is that right?
I am. We just got packed up and we're heading home today, but it's been a nice long weekend.
Well, I'm certainly envious of the beautiful scenery and everything. Fred,
September and October, Zeb, is the very best time in the world to be in the state of Idaho, and you really need to be outside, and so we just came up for 3 or 4 days to do that. It's been great.
Absolutely. I'm envious. Representative Wood, you've been a friend of mine in this program for a long time, and I know there's a lot of issues that are consuming a lot of your time in the off legislative times, and one of which is the salmon issue. Can you bring us up to speed as to what's going on with that?
We've had a couple of meetings, and our next meeting we've had 3 meetings. Our next meeting is in Twin Falls on September the 29th and September the 30th. Now, that's Tuesday and Wednesday, and I would encourage everybody who is interested in water and what happens to water in the state of Idaho to come and observe that meeting. There will be time for public comment on Wednesday. I'm not sure exactly when that's scheduled. It's typically scheduled in the afternoon. But I would encourage people to come and put in their 2 cents worth. At this point in time, Zeb, we're still sorting through The science, you know, about 20 or 25 years ago, we thought we knew at least a little bit about the life cycle of salmon and how water and water flows, et cetera, affected them. Well, there's a significant amount of new science, and some of which shows that we didn't know very much at all 20 or 25 years ago. And so we're still sorting through exactly what a lot of that science means and what we don't know. And this is a multi-year project, so we're not anywhere near making any recommendations to the governor where he may be able to formulate policy associated with this. And secondly, there's two very large groups working on, the first is a group working on the operations of the Columbia River hydropower system. And they're basically under a court order to do that. They're developing a draft environmental impact statement for that. That's supposed to be out in about a year and a half. And they're taking a real deep dive into the science. And secondly is a large group, Columbia River Partnership, that's essentially doing the same thing. They're about 3 years into their study. We're principally concentrating just on Idaho, but we're not. We want to make sure we don't get in the way of those folks either. So it's a work in progress. I don't think there's anything new to report right now, but I would encourage people who are interested in Idaho Water to attend that meeting September the 29th and particularly on the 30th, where you can put in your 2 cents worth.
Fred, I think there needs to be a correction. I think there was a misspoke. Not September. It's not September. It's past. What dates are they?
October 28th. You're right. October 29th and 30th.
Okay.
My mistake.
Now, let's talk a little bit about Medicaid and funding and the work issue. I mean, where are we at on Medicaid and the application of Medicaid to the state of Idaho?
Okay. There's an interim committee meeting on the financing of that. We've had 3 meetings. We have our last meeting on November the 4th, which is coming up fairly shortly. We made a recommendation of how that should be funded for FY21, which is the budget that the legislature is going to be setting when we get back there in January of 2020. That session starts on the 6th of January this year, coming up. And so what we recommended is we're currently spending about $65 million for programs that when Medicaid is expanded, Medicaid will cover those programs. And the cost for FY21 is going to be about $42 million, 41.9, I think, to be exact. And so we made a recommendation of which of those monies to the legislature that how they should fund Medicaid for FY21. Now, what the legislature does with those recommendations, we'll have to wait and see. But basically what we did is we said we'll take $20 million from the offsets out of the general fund. We'll take $10 million from what the counties have been paying. We'll take about $10 million from what the catastrophic health care program has been paying, a little bit from the Millennium Fund, and that's the recommendation of how to fund that. With respect to what's gone on with the waivers that we applied for and the work requirement, etc., we applied for 4 waivers. The first waiver was to allow people to stay on the exchange and keep their current commercial insurance policy even if they were below 138% of the federal poverty level, if they wanted to. That waiver has been turned down by the federal government. We've already heard that one. They've told us no. The work waiver is before the feds now. The family planning waiver is in public comment now, if memory serves me correctly. If the public comment period may actually be wound up, and the final application may be on its way to Washington
And then the IMD waiver or the mental health waiver. There's two parts to that. One is not a waiver. That should be in effect by the 1st of January. And then the mental health portion of it, the public comment period is coming up here pretty quick. We should have that back to the feds by the 1st of January, and hopefully we'll hear about that in May or June of 2020. That's the status of the funding recommendations, and that's the status of the waivers at this point in time.
Mm-hmm. Fred, are there other states that are having comparable or similar issues with Medicaid?
There are, particularly on the waiver front, and here's the reason. I think it's been about 18 months ago now. There was a federal suit brought in North Texas to try to declare the Affordable Care Act unconstitutional. A federal judge there did declare it unconstitutional. That was appealed to the Fifth Circuit in New Orleans. They heard that about 2 months ago, if memory serves me correctly, but they have not issued an opinion on that. When they do issue an opinion on that, no matter what the result, they'll try to get that in front of the Supreme Court, and I suspect that the Supreme Court would take it up, although there's no guarantee that they will. They don't take up that many cases, and it may depend upon the outcome as to whether they take it up or not. But if they take it up, then it'll be another 18 months to 2 years before we know whether the Affordable Care Act is constitutional or not.
Mm-hmm.
The Trump administration came out a number of months ago and publicly stated that they consider the Affordable Care Act unconstitutional, and therefore they're not going to approve waivers until the Supreme Court decides that. And I've not heard of any state that has gotten any waiver approved lately since that pronouncement came out. Some may have, but if they have, I haven't heard of it. And typically, we would hear that. In my last update from the governor's office, which was only about a week ago, there wasn't any indication that any of those were going to be looked upon favorably. So that is the rest of the states are kind of in the same boat we are with respect to asking for waivers. Utah was turned down just about 3 weeks before we were turned down, or a month before we were turned down.
Fred, you've gone through the summer, and a lot of people don't realize all the work and the meetings and the paperwork and the reading on various subjects that have to be addressed at the legislative session. All that being said, we're just literally months away from the next legislative session. What different topics are you filing in your briefcase that you think will be addressed this next January?
Well, in terms of the Health and Welfare Committee, we're going to be awful busy. First, as you know, all of the rules none of the rules in the state of Idaho were approved at the end of the session. So the governor took the opportunity to have all of his departments review all of the rules. So every single rule is going to come back to all of the committees for approval at the beginning of the session. Well, the Health and Welfare Committee has 1/3 of all the rules in the entire state of Idaho. So right off the bat, we're going to have probably 3 solid weeks or more, full days of just hearing and approving or disapproving rules to start with before we ever get to any legislation. Secondly, then we've got the whole issue of Medicaid, although not the funding portion of it, but the Medicaid to determine whether or not it's worth trying to figure out any more waivers, given the stance of the federal government at this point in time. And then individually, I've had multiple entities come to me and talk to me about legislation that is coming up or that they want to bring up. For foremost is there's a move to try to figure out several things that we can do with respect to the high cost of pharmaceutical agents, Zeb. I mean, these things are going up by 10% a year, and it's just killing everybody. I mean, it really is. So there's multiple pieces of legislation that I've talked to people about that will be coming forward on that front alone. There's a couple of pieces of legislation concerning rules that the federal government has passed with respect to not Medicaid, but other health care programs that we're going to have to bring legislation to comply with the feds on. There's a naturopathic licensing bill. I don't know of any other licensing bills. There's the issue of trying to figure out how we're going to control the general cost of health care. There will be a couple of bills associated with the cost of hospitalization. Zeb, there's going to be as full a plate as I have ever seen in the Health and Welfare Committee this year alone.
Fred, I've got to ask you this real quick, and I've only got a couple of minutes left. You talk about the high cost of prescription drugs. You, as a doctor, and you know the pain and the suffering that people are having out of their checkbooks trying to buy these pharmaceutical products to stay alive or stay healthy, I can tell you that on behalf of my wife and myself, it's just enormous what we're paying for pharmaceutical prescriptions. And I'm lucky. I've got a full-time job, if you will, with employment and money coming in. I don't know how these people are making it. It's almost like the pharmaceutical companies are trying to turn our society into a hemlock society. If you can't afford it, just go die.
You're not the first person to say exactly that, Zeb. By far, you're not the first person. From every quarter comes complaints of the high cost of pharmaceuticals. I don't care whether you're well enough off that you can afford that, whether your employer offers really good health coverage or what. The fact is that there is no health coverage that covers drugs 100%, and so the consumer is left with the cost of making that up. And an awful lot of people that just can't do it. That's the biggest thing that I've been working on in the interim, outside of the interim committees. I've met with the Department of Insurance a couple of 3 times. I've met with the carriers. I've met with representatives from the Pharmaceutical Retailers Association, et cetera, trying to figure out pieces of legislation that we can bring. The real problem the states have with the pharmaceutical industry is that 95% of it is all federally regulated.
Wow.
That's the problem. From the state's perspective, that's the problem.
Well, Fred, we're going to be talking more about this and other issues. I'm flat out of time for today, but I want to first of all say how much I appreciate your taking the time out of a vacation that you've deserved and needed for a long time. God bless you for that. But thank you for all your answers for the questions this morning. Representative Fred Wood, have a safe trip and come back soon.
Thank you, Zeb. God bless you and your listeners.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. I always enjoy our conversations with Representative Fred Wood. You know you're going to get a straight answer, and I really appreciate that. Time for the weather, and it's brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Hello, Don Scarrow and the crew over there at Scarrows Meats. You can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com, and check out all the beautiful, wonderful, delicious meats for you and your family. And the number to call, 324-7657. I'm telling about the marinated pork ribs and the tri-tips and all the different bacons and the sausages and the bratwurst, and the list goes on at Scarrows Meats in Jerome. Go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Another beautiful day here in the Valley as we make our way through this work week. And for today, sunny skies, we are expecting a high of 70. Winds light and variable, becoming out of the east at about 5 miles an hour. Tonight, mostly clear skies with a low of 38. Tomorrow, another nice one. Sunny skies, high of 74. Clouds rolling in for tomorrow night with a low of 44. By Thursday, mostly cloudy skies, expecting a high of 58. Winds are going to be picking up. Gusts as high as 25 miles an hour for Thursday. Thursday night, partly cloudy skies with a low of 34. By Friday, mostly sunny, 53. Saturday, showers likely, mostly in the afternoon, partly sunny skies and a high of 50. That's a look at your weather forecast for 7th Ranch.
Oh, thank you, Gina, and brought to you by Don Scarrow and the crew at Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, and it goes without saying that they are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Tomorrow on the program, let me take a quick look and see what we've got scheduled. I know that we're going to have Dr. Dallas Jenkins on the program. We're expecting attorneys with the Pacific Legal Foundation and also Gregory Wrightstone. So we've got full plate tomorrow on the program. Don't you miss it. Our old buddy Dave Beagle couldn't be on the air tomorrow, and he'll be back next Wednesday. Want to remind you, too, about our major sponsor, and that's, of course, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with a great big fall tire sale going on right now, where you can save a lot of money, get the best of tires for your safe driving. And don't forget, they've been doing the right thing since 1952. Stop in and see any one of the 7 locations today for all the tires, all the different tread designs, sizes, for your vehicles. And don't forget, too, the best of brake service, front-end alignment, shocks and struts, and batteries. It's a great time to be having your battery checked. You don't want to be sitting up on a mountain someplace hunting and turn the key on your pick-em-up truck and it goes click, 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 click. No. Step in and check out all the great batteries at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike in Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland in Burley, the absolute best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Once again, a reminder, Lunch Bunch is going to be on the 24th. That's coming up next week on Thursday the 24th at Denny's, America's Diner. And it's going to be our Halloween costume contest. And there's going to be prizes for the first and second place. And so everybody wear a costume to Lunch Bunch next week on, I almost said August, October 24th for our Halloween party at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. My old buddy Wheels over at the station is ready now, and we're going to wrap the program up a couple of minutes early today. I've got to run to a meeting. I've got to be there by 11:30, and Wheels is going to carry the ball for me, and we always wrap up the program by saying the way things were or the way things ought to be, and in God we trust. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06.